Do you really want to donate the next 30 years of your life to a mortgage that treats you like an organ donor with a paycheck? Because that's what you're doing every time you shrug and say, "Guess that's just what houses cost now." My neighbor, let's call him Marco, didn't shrug. He sold his condo-sized soul sucker in a hot market, cashed out and disappeared for a month. I thought he'd joined a cult. He came back grinning like a lottery winner, tossed me a set of keys and said, "Guess how much?" I'm looking at a 3-bedroom with a yard, a detached garage, and a front porch that practically begs for iced tea, and his number is lower than what I paid for my car. Not in 1997, this year. He didn't hack the MLS. He didn't marry rich. He went where the map says the American dream is on clearance. And here's the part nobody tells you: some of these towns are betting on themselves again, hiring, rehabbing, reopening, while the big metros keep moving the goalposts. So I'm going to show you 17 places where the prices look like misprints and the math finally respects your sanity. No fairy dust, no house flip fantasy. Real streets, real neighbors, real weird backstories, and mortgages that won't mug you in a dark alley. If you've ever said, "There has to be a smarter way," this is your roadmap. 17 U.S. towns with home prices so cheap it feels unreal. 2025. Buckle up. We're about to crack the lock on the part of America you were never supposed to see. Number 17. Youngstown, Ohio. If you want numbers that punch your calculator in the face, here they are. The typical home value in Youngstown sits around $67,700, and that's after inching up year over year. That's not a typo, that's a whole house for the price of a mid-trim crossover, while the national median home clocks in north of $410,000 this year. What does that mean for you? With 30-year mortgage rates drifting around 6.5% lately, your monthly on a starter here can look like a car payment, not a cage match with your savings. Youngstown's story is steel town whiplash: factories shrank, people left, and the housing stock never recovered to normal U.S. prices. Translation: bargains everywhere, especially for buyers who can swing light rehab. Rents still cash flow because entry prices are microscopic, but you'll want a maintenance budget. Old roofs and older boilers don't care that your mortgage is cute. The comeback angle is real: downtown rehabs, a growing medical footprint, and small-scale manufacturing warehousing humming along I-80. The risk: neighborhood quality swings block to block. Do the boots-on-the-ground tour before you fall in love with a listing photo taken during the Obama administration. Bottom line, if you're hunting for sub-$80K houses in a city with real streets, real sports, and real diners, Youngstown is a live option. Cheap now, patient later. Number 16. Danville, Illinois. Danville is the Midwest's version of a clearance rack that somehow still has your size. The average home value is about $73,900, and it actually dipped this past year, which tells you sellers are negotiating and buyers with cash are king. You're 35 minutes from Champaign, 90 from Indianapolis, and your typical single-family price looks like a down payment in most metros. What keeps it this cheap? Industrial downsizing over decades, aging housing stock, and Illinois' tax baggage savvy buyers price that into offers. But there's a flip side. Small hospitals, distribution and ag-adjacent employers keep paychecks in town, and the I-74 corridor means your tenants can commute while your mortgage snoozes. Strategy talk: target solid bones bungalows and brick ranches under the median budget capex on day one, roof, electrical, windows, and you can still keep all-in basis under what coastal buyers tip the closing attorney. The risk column: slower appreciation than the Sun Belt, occasional vacancy pockets, and an inspection list that reads like a home improvement syllabus. The reward column: low entry, decent rents relative to price, and exit liquidity that doesn't rely on crypto-level miracles. If you want a starter market where your spreadsheet finally looks like math, Danville's one of the last places you can make it work without playing musical chairs with interest rates. Number 15. Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Pine Bluff is Arkansas affordability with an asterisk. Average home value around $76,800, and it fell meaningfully this year, which screams buyer leverage. Here's the play. You're 45 minutes from Little Rock, sitting on legacy mill towns, barge traffic and rail that still matter. Entry prices under $100K are normal, and sub $80K deals happen weekly. Why so cheap? Population drift. older homes needing love, and a reputation lagging current realities. Investors like the math low basis, workable rents, and a landlord pool that isn't elbow to elbow yet. End-user buyers like the lifestyle arbitrage, a yard, a carport, a dog, and a note smaller than a studio rent in Dallas. Caution flags, screen for floodplain, budget for HVAC and roofs. Southern summers eat compressors, and underwrite with conservative rent growth. Macro tailwind. Cooling mortgage rates improve payment shock, and Arkansas remains a cost of living refuge compared with both coasts. Micro tailwind. Local employers in logistics, healthcare, and education keep the monthly income carousel turning, even if appreciation is more slow simmer than flash fry. If you're comfortable being early rather than trendy, owning shelter where the math works, not where the Instagram reel pops, Pine Bluff lets you buy time, not just bedrooms. Number 14. Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Johnstown is the Rust Belt's cautionary epic that somehow still pencils. Think hills, history, and housing that stubbornly refuses to join the national price party. Average home value about $108,000, that's a 25% down payment in most suburbs. But here it buys the whole deed, plus a porch big enough for 3 rocking chairs and a Steelers flag. Buyers come for the price, and stay for the sanity. You've got hospitals, small colleges, and rail-to-trail weekends, with Pittsburgh reachable for big city fixes. What keeps it undervalued? A century of boom-bust steel, flood scars that live in the American memory, and a housing stock older than your favorite diner's griddle. The opportunity is surgical. Target streets with intact owner-occupant pride. Avoid the houses that just need TLC, but actually need trades and miracles, and budget for insulation because winters don't negotiate. On the finance side, a sub-$120K purchase at mid-6% rates often lands a pity lower than national median rent, yes, even after escrows. Appreciation, modest. Cash flow, real if you mind the capex. Quality of life, card trail systems, Allegheny views, and neighborhoods where people still say hello before asking what you paid. If your goal is to trade anxiety for equity without auctioning your future, Johnstown is the kind of boring that builds net worth. Number 13. Saginaw, Michigan. Saginaw is 2 markets dressed as one. Zillow's average home value sits near $128,500, but on the ground, median sale prices lately hover around $72,000, with homes moving in just about 16 days. That gap is your edge. ZHVI tracks the whole stock, while deals trade at working-class numbers. If you know the zip codes, 48602 clocks $1.71K average. This is old-school Michigan, GM DNA in the soil, suppliers in the orbit, and a rental spine that refuses to break because wages and house prices still talk to each other. Strategy: buy under the median, fix the mechanicals first, and let boring cash flow do its job while you watch the Bay City Midland, Saginaw Triangle pull demand along I-75. Risks: block level variability, legacy lead insulation issues, and pre-war housing and property taxes that need a spreadsheet eye. Tailwinds: Michigan's broader price index is stable, rates have cooled off their peak, and investors haven't strip-mined every block like they did in Phoenix. If you've been priced out of name-brand Midwest cities, Saginaw offers the same rental math without bidding wars or influencer caravans. It's not flashy, it's functional. Exactly what a starter portfolio or a first-time buyer needs in 2025. Number 12. Toledo, Ohio. You want the feeling of getting away with something legal. That's Toledo in 2025. The typical home value here hovers around $128,600, which means you could own a 3-bedroom with a garage for what people in Phoenix are paying to store a kayak. Zoom into the tape. Redfin has the median sale price around $140,000 this summer, and homes clearing in roughly 40 days, which is code for sellers listen, buyers still bargain. The macro wind is at your back too, among Midwest cities, putting up real appreciation while the coasts yawn. Toledo's been a quiet overachiever. National trackers flagged it for some of the strongest year-over-year gains in the region earlier this year. Here's how you play it. Stay near the metro parks and Old West End for character stock. Chase post-war vinyl-sided boxes for low capex. If you're cash flow curious, and verify taxes assessments like a hawk, because Ohio loves paperwork. Retirees like the math low healthcare friction, plenty of hospitals, decent transit, and landlords like that rents still talk to wages, rare in 2025. Risks, lake effect winters, deferred maintenance in older blocks, and occasional competition when out-of-state investors swoop in with cash. But for a starter home buyer, a monthly mortgage that looks like a used car payment is not a marketing slogan. It's Tuesday in Toledo. If your plan is to buy sanity and a backyard without selling your future, this city is the Midwest cheat code your spreadsheet has been begging for. Number 11. Gary, Indiana. If real estate were baseball, Gary is the undervalued utility player that still hits doubles all day. The typical home value sits near $86,000. Yes, an entire house for the price of a loaded F-150 trim package, and it actually slipped a couple percent over the last year, which hands you leverage at the negotiating table. You're in the Chicago orbit without the Chicago mortgage. Rail and highway access are absurdly good, which is why tradespeople and distribution-adjacent workers keep the rental spine intact. The investor thesis writes itself: microscopic basis, workable rents, and an exit lane to Chicagoland buyers, once you clean and stabilize. Catches: old housing stock, expect lid paint / knob and tube cameos, block-by-block variability that will humble GPS, and city services that can feel, let's say, intermittent. Your edge is due diligence. Comp tight, inspect tight, and underwrite roofs, furnaces and windows before you fall in love with hardwoods. When inventory across America is priced like a luxury watch, Gary is the pawn shop miracle, unsexy, practical, and capable of making you money if you respect the grind. Add in the broader affordability reset, Midwest metros pulling demand from both coasts, and you've got a place where $20-25 still behave like dollars. Want upside, proximity to the dunes, commuter lines, and a slow trickle of rehabs heading south from the state line. Want a warning? Skip the fantasy flips, slow chew, not fast food. That's how Gary rewards the patient and punishes the careless. Number 10. Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson is a paradox with a porch typical home value near $84,200, about a fifth of the national median, while the headlines keep casual buyers away and leave disciplined buyers alone with opportunity. Price trend, essentially flat year over year, which in a lot of the country counts as a win when rates are chewing on budgets. Here's the mechanics. Single-family entry points under $100K are common, and you can still find livable stock that doesn't require a second mortgage for repairs. The rent-to-price ratio makes spreadsheets grin, but this is not buy anything with a roof. You must underwrite water sewer realities, insurance welcome to the Gulf, and HVAC loads because summers don't blink. The playbook: target blocks with owner-occupant pride, keep cash reserves for mechanicals, and pick property managers who know the neighborhood, not just the zip. What keeps values suppressed? Population drift, infrastructure hangovers, and a reputation that updates slower than the market itself. What keeps buyers coming? A cost of living that feels pre-2020, strong church and community glue, and enough healthcare education payroll to keep checks clearing. If you want cheap now, steady later, and you're not allergic to due diligence, Jackson offers a kind of affordability that barely exists in U.S. metros anymore. Measurable equity growth doesn't require a boom, just competence and time. In a country where $400K starter homes are normal, a clean $90K bungalow in the capital city of Mississippi feels unreal because it sort of is. Number 9. Shreveport, Louisiana. Shreveport is where the spreadsheet says buy, and your contractor says bring a dehumidifier. The typical home value runs about $137,700, and actually nudged down till the 2% over the past year. Translate that into buyer power and inspection credits. If you show up with a strong pre-approval, energy, defense, medical, and I-20 logistics form the payroll backbone. Casinos add service jobs and weekend demand that props up short-term rentals on corridors with nightlife. Median list and sale prices still live in a different galaxy from Austin or Nashville, which is why cash flow hunters quietly shop here while the influencer crowd chases bidding wars. Threats: age of housing, summer moisture budget for roofs and AC, and the occasional appraisal that thinks it's still 2018. Opportunities: sub-$150K 3 beds that appraise clean after modest rehabs, rents that pencil against tiny mortgages, and sellers who negotiate because days on market has crept up. You're not buying hype here, you're buying arithmetic. In 2025, that's priceless. The bigger story is national. Affordability has collapsed in dozens of metros, shoving regular buyers toward the South and Midwest. Shreveport's price chart is basically a lifeboat in that sea, boring, steady, fundamentally attainable. If you'd rather own 4 doors that cash flow than 1 door that owns you, this is one of the last cities where the math still speaks plain English. Bring a good inspector, a moisture meter, and a plan. Shreveport will do the rest. Number 8. Akron, Ohio. Akron is the Midwest's comeback kit in a cardboard box. Open it, assemble equity. The typical home value sits around $139,600, yet regional trackers flagged double-digit gains recently, proof that undervalued doesn't mean unloved. Rubber City DNA gave way to polymers, health systems, and a tech-light manufacturing base. What didn't change is the ability to buy an actual house without pledging your firstborn to the bank. Strategy: aim for post-war ranches and Cape Cods where mechanicals have been touched in the last decade, and look for streets anchored by owner-occupants. Akron rewards pickiness. Cash flow seekers should love the rent-to-price ratio, but the real edge is exit liquidity. Cleveland and Canton commuters give you more than one buyer pool when it's time to sell. Risks: older stock insulation, electrical, winters that audition your furnace, and pockets that still carry 2008 scars. But in a market where national appreciation cooled and affordability retreated, Akron posted standout momentum alongside Midwest peers, reminding everyone that cheap and weak are not synonyms. Homeownership here feels like time travel: modest down payment, sane monthly, and a garage that isn't a luxury amenity. If you're shopping for value with upside, and you prefer spreadsheets that don't need hopium to work, Akron is the blue-collar bull case, wearing a Carhartt, and paying its bills on time. Number 7. Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, in 2025, is the rare big city price point that still sounds like a typo. The typical home value is about $117,700, while the median sale price runs near $128,000, and listings move in roughly a month. Translation: you can still buy inside a major league hospital-heavy lakefront metro for less than the national down payment. That gap between ZHVI and actual medians is your chessboard. Entry prices are low, but livability and amenities are very real. Cleveland Clinic, University Circle, lakefront parks, the Buy Box, solid bones colonials and bungalows on stable blocks. Skip the $35K steal that needs $65K of trades. Investors like the cash-on-cash, end users like that their monthly doesn't require a second job. Tailwinds: even with the national affordability crunch, Cleveland was one of the few big metros where buying power actually improved since 2019, thanks to wage growth outrunning prices a touch. Headwinds: legacy infrastructure, winter, and a hyper-local market where 2 streets can mean 2 different outcomes. Do the work and the city pays you back, with neighborhoods that still have block parties, with museums that would embarrass bigger metros, and with mortgages that don't make you queasy. If you've ever said "I just want a normal house at a normal price in a real city," Cleveland is the bat signal you've been waiting for. And yes, someone will try to sell you season tickets and a snow shovel on the same day. Buy the shovel first. Number 6. St. Louis, Missouri. You want big league museums, a real NFL-sized skyline. Yes, I know. Craft beer that tastes like it has a biography, and a mortgage that doesn't feel like a lifelong punishment. That's St. Louis in 2025. The typical home value in the city hovers around $187,700. That's earnest money check in other metros territory, and sellers are still blinking first in a lot of deals. Zoom in: city homes have been trading with a median sale price near $260,000, and a lightning approximately 23 days on market, which means if you're pre-approved and smart about contingencies, you can actually negotiate like it's America again. Here's the playbook: chase brick 2 stories, and tidy bungalows on blocks with stable owner-occupants. Skip the $40K steal that needs $80K of trades. You're buying into a metro with heavyweight employers, river logistics, and neighborhoods where a 5-minute radius takes you from botanical gardens to BBQ lines that wrap like a conga. Risks: legacy infrastructure, winters that ask your furnace to be a hero, and hyper-local value swings street to street. Upside: a real city, at a discount. Arts, parks, medicine, baseball, and mortgages. that won't bully your paycheck. St. Louis is the affordability cheat code for people who want urban life without auctioning their future. If you ever said, I just want a normal house in a real city that doesn't crush me, the Gateway City is waving you through the turnstile. Number 5. Peoria, Illinois. If your spreadsheet is starving for a W, feed it Peoria. The typical home value sits around $130,000. And yes, appreciating proof you're not buying a falling knife. You're buying a working-class city that still respects math. What makes this feel unreal? Entry prices that look like down payments elsewhere, plus a job mix that still cuts checks, healthcare hubs, ag industrial suppliers, and distribution corridors, stitched into I-74, and the Illinois River. Your move, target post-war ranches and brick boxes, where mechanicals have been touched in the last decade. Those go from dated to cash flowing with paint, lighting and a garage door that opens reliably. Watch taxes and insurance. This is Illinois. Spreadsheets need caffeine, but the rent-to-price ratio here is still old-school monthly pity that undercuts national median rent without miracles. Appreciation is a jog, not a sprint, but that's exactly why you win. Less speculation froth. More room to be a competent buyer who budgets for roofs and furnaces before falling in love with hardwoods. And when the national market has everyone bargaining with their soul, Peoria hands you a normal American outcome. Buy a house, fix what matters, sleep at night. It's not glamorous. Good glamour charges 7% more interest and steals your weekends. Here, the deal is simple: sane price, sensible capex, and exits to multiple buyer pools when you're done being the hero. Number 4. Montgomery, Alabama. Montgomery is the southern affordability card nobody plays soon enough. The typical home value sits near $147,500, some submarkets even lower, and you can still win keys without sacrificing your retirement or your sanity. Zoom out, the median sale price around $200,000 with approximately 71 days on market tells you this is not some coastal knife fight. You get time to inspect, negotiate credits, and line up trades without panic. The city's power combo is government defense payrolls, healthcare, and education. Translation: steady checks that keep the rental spine upright while you rehab. Your buy box: 3-bed, 1.5, 2-bath ranches and brick single stories with yard and carport. Do the HVAC/roof/electrical first, because summers test compressors like a CrossFit coach. Underwrite insurance carefully. It's the Gulf neighborhood, but recognize the offset cost of living that still makes sense. Commutes that don't steal your life, and front porches that come standard. Appreciation: a slow simmer, fine, cash on cash, very real at this basis. The risk column reads like the truth: older stock, moisture management, and patience for a market that rewards competence over hype. The reward column is why you're still reading. You can buy a whole life here: a yard, a dog, a grill, on a payment that looks like a used car note, not a ransom demand. In 2025, that's borderline science fiction. Number 3. Rockford, Illinois. Rockford is the blue-collar comeback you can actually afford to join. Start with the sticker. Typical home value about $173,500, yet closings lately are humming at a $175,000. Median and clearing in roughly 12 days. Demand is real, but prices are still mortal. That's the sweet spot. Enough competition to validate your equity, not enough to vaporize your leverage. The industrial DNA didn't vanish, it evolved. Medical systems, advanced manufacturing, and logistics feeding off I-90 mean paychecks keep circulating, even when national headlines wobble. Tactically, you're hunting for sturdy 1950s, 70s houses with honest bones. Fix mechanicals first, then yank paneling and carpet to unlock light and rent-ready finishes. Taxes: it's Illinois, bake them in and you're fine. Insurance: still sane compared with the coasts and the Gulf. The trade here is time and care. Buy under neighborhood medians, be ruthless on inspection, and you can keep your all-in basis shockingly low, while rents do their dependable Midwestern thing. And when it's time to exit, you're selling into a market where DOM is measured in days, not heartbreak. The only people who lose in Rockford are the ones who think HGTV edits are a business plan. Bring a spreadsheet, a good roofer, and the humility to do boring things well, and this city will quietly build your net worth while louder markets argue on Instagram. Number 2. Highland Park, Michigan. If Unreal had a zip, it would be 48203. You're surrounded by Detroit, but buying at yard sale prices. In February 2025, the median sale price was about $79,000, down tilde 46% year over year, and homes still closed. Slowly sure. After roughly 103 days. Translation: you can negotiate like a surgeon, ask for credits, demand repairs, and still leave with a mortgage that looks like a phone bill. Listing side. Median list sat near $99,000, with a rock bottom $66/SQFT, which means even the nice asks are starter budget territory. This is the birthplace of the Model T city that got hammered by deindustrialization, tax stress, and infrastructure drama. So intense the utility literally removed approximately 1,200 streetlights during the 2010s to settle debts. Locals watched poles vanish, and nights get darker. No metaphor needed. The flip side is precisely why contrarians shop here. Microscopic entry price, big city adjacency, Ford, suppliers, hospitals, I-75, and block-by-block upsides for buyers who fix systems first, roof, furnace, electrical, and cosmetics last. Your risk log: aged housing, lead/knob and tube cameos, services that fluctuate, and a micro-market where 2 streets apart equals 2 different cap rates. Your reward basis: so low, a modest rent easily outruns piety, with exit options to Detroit area house hunters once you stabilize. Want a playbook? Buy under list budget, real capex, light the property, yes literally, and partner with a manager who knows the neighborhood map better than Google. Highland Park won't gift you easy money, but it will sell you time, leverage, and the rare 2025 chance to build equity without auctioning your future. Number 1. Cairo, Illinois. America's cheapest river city feels like a real estate glitch. Parked at the confluence of the Ohio and Mississippi, Cairo's average home value is about $37,954. Yes, a whole deed for what coastal metters call closing costs. Despite that tiny base, values rose tilde 10% year over year, proof that even the bargain bin prints gains when your basis is lunch money low. Why so cheap? Decades of population bleed, shuttered industry, and a downtown that looks cinematic at golden hour and forsaken after. Recent population estimates show the city still shrinking, roughly minus 3.5% annually, down tilde 15% since 2020, which is brutal for sentiment, but golden for buyers who understand small market math. Buy livable stock well below $50K. Fix the expensive bits once, and you can undercut national median rent with your mortgage and still cash flow. Expect thin inventory. This is a tiny market, but the comps page proves transactions happen. Scroll, and you'll find closings that look like typos. The risk ledger is honest. Limited employers, long drives for specialty services, and floodplain diligence every rational buyer should do. The reward column: ownership for the price of a used Civic, property taxes that don't ambush you, and acreage options, where off-grid tinkering actually pencils. Cairo is not a flip and flee town, it's a hold and harvest play. Low carry, low drama, and equity built through competence, not casino odds. If your 2025 mission is to own something real, not just an algorithm's idea of housing, Cairo hands you a key and a second chance at American affordability.